Hello, everyone, and welcome to the State of Digital Adoption 2025 webinar. If you're here, you already know we're back for the fourth year running, and this time the report is bigger, better, and honestly, pretty eye-opening. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ophir Bloch, VP Corporate Marketing at WalkMe, and I've been at WalkMe for way too long, 8 years and counting, but I'm still just as excited about this report as I was with the first one. It's 2025, so what else would this year's report focus on if not generative AI? AI is reshaping every organization and business model in the world. And today we're going to break it down and tell it exactly what it means to digital adoption from a digital adoption standpoint. So I know you're probably thinking, what is this report and how was it put together? Don't worry, I got you. We surveyed and analyzed data from 1,700 enterprise leaders, 2,000 line of business employees, as well as WalkMe's own proprietary data from 1.5 million user interactions across more than 2,400 applications. So believe me when I tell you, this is the industry's most comprehensive study on the topic of digital adoption. Before we dive in, just a couple of housekeeping quick things. This session is live, no pressure at all, right? And it will be recorded, so if you miss something or want to share it later on with any of your colleagues, you'll have access to the replay. If you have questions, drop them in the chat. Our team is constantly monitoring it throughout the webinar, and while we may not get to every question live, we'll do our best to reach out later on and try to reply to everything. Everyone who attends this webinar will get the report during the webinar. During the event itself, you'll get a link and a QR code at the end. No need to sign up, no need to fill any forms. You'll have access to the report by the end of this session today. Now, let's get into it. We have an incredible panel today. These are real experts in the field who are seeing digital adoption challenges and opportunities and how they play out in the real world. First, we have Alexa Cordell, Senior Learning Technology Manager at EDF Renewables North America. Alexa brings a unique perspective on digital adoption in the international energy sector. Hello, Alexa. Thanks for joining us. Next, from State Farm, we have not one, but two digital adoption experts. First, we have Michael Freeman, Technology Manager for Digital Adoption. Michael leads a team that actually won a WalkMe Realizer Award in 2024. So we're super excited and excited to have you with us today. Hello, Michael. And of course, we have Todd Ferguson from State Farm, who is an HR&D Technology Director. Todd understands the people side of AI adoption, how organizations can make technology work for their employees and not against them. And thank you for joining us, Todd. And representing Accenture, I know we had some technical issues. Hopefully, she will be able to join us shortly. We have Andrea Lippin, who's a Managing Director of Talent Organization. Andrea has seen firsthand how enterprises are handling this AI explosion that we'll be talking about, and hopefully she will be able to share some insights with us. And of course, I'll be guiding us through the conversation. So with that, let's jump in. I want to open with something that really kind of stood out to me. What really surprised me working on this report this year, one of the findings that kind of stood out was the sheer volume of AI applications that are now in the enterprise tech stack. 28% of our tech stack, believe it or not, or close to 200 apps are native GenAI applications. And this technology that was introduced to our lives less than 2 years ago is already playing a significant part of our tech stack. So with that, I want to start by asking our panelists, I'll turn to you. In 60 seconds or less, I'd like to ask you, which of the report's findings resonated most with your experience, particularly regarding the intersection of AI and digital adoption? And I see that Andrea's not on yet, so I'll start with you, Alexa.
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me here to speak alongside this incredible panel. The whole report resonated with me, but the section on bridging the gap between executives and employees was really interesting. I think it states 80% of executives are confident in their change management approach, and then the employee experience tells quite a different story. I specifically appreciate the note about employee priorities, because that's typically going to be very different than executive priorities. And when you think about day-to-day work and the daily task, very different priorities, right? Employees center on practical needs, and executives perhaps on strategic and ambitious outcomes, and leveraging the right cocktail of AI, DAP, and employee-centric empathy, that's the winning combo, I think, that supports everyone's priorities.
Spot on. And I think the report does a good job kind of contrasting that, the different perceptions between the management and employees. Thank you for that, Alexa. And with that, I'll turn to you, Todd. What stood out to you?
Yeah, lots of great stuff in the report. So, but first, again, just appreciate you all inviting Michael and I to this great panel discussion here today. We're just super excited with the digital adoption and the state of the journey. For me, that what stood out though is as you hit on, Ophir, 28% of AI now is in the tech stack, but yet, and I think 63% of employees responded that they're using Gen AI in their work. But the big nugget there was only 28% felt adequately trained, and only 32% expressed confidence. And so that tells me again that while AI is an effective tool and will do great things for a lot of workplaces, there is still a huge learning curve. And so when you can marry the DAP platform into those AI workflows, that's your sweet spot, because we still see, as with any technology, users still need to feel confident on how they use it, why they should use it, when they should use it, and AI is really no different.
Yeah. And I think that in a way, it kind of ties into what Alexa said, right, about regarding that perception gap between the executives and the employees, right? There's kind of this mandate to go and invest in AI and buy what we can to make the organization more effective, more efficient, et cetera. And we just kind of expect folks to know how to use it. But the reality is kind of different than that. So that's a good catch there, Todd. Michael?
Yeah, I would say thanks again for having us, Ophir and WalkMe. We are excited to be here. For me, it's just the groundswell of support we see for AI, and maybe the difference between that and the speed at which an organization can adopt those technologies. So I used the WalkMe Shadow AI detector and WalkMe Discovery to take a look at what we were seeing on our network. And what we were seeing is we've got about 242 applications that are AI enabled, that are being used by our workforce. Now, our workforce is unique. It is divided between our employees at the company and then our independent contractor agents. And those agents have a lot more freedom to decide what tools they want to use than our employees do inside the network. And so the agents are moving forward with using a lot of AI-enabled tools that maybe aren't available yet inside the company. And so we're starting to see kind of those early adopters really surge forward and embrace the technology. And I don't think companies can wait very long before they have a policy and standards and some understanding of how that AI is going to impact their business, because it's coming whether they're ready or not.
Yeah. So first of all, I'm really happy to see that our survey kind of aligns with what you're seeing with the tool. So that's great. And yeah, I think if that's just one indication to the sheer amount of applications that we use in our day to day. And you're right, there are different groups, different needs, different levels of digital dexterity, knowledge. And it's just, how do you control all of that, right? So I think the first step in that direction is to kind of gain visibility and understand what you actually have. And it looks like you guys are doing a good job with that. So thank you for that. And our next question was actually for Andrea, and I see that she's still kind of struggling with the technical side of things. So I'm going to skip Andrea for now. Hopefully she's able to join us later. And I want to move to our next topic. So Michael, I'll stay with you. And I just want to highlight one of the findings from the research that really showed that insurance sector is making significant investments in digital adoption, almost 25% higher than the cross-industry average, which is awesome. So how are you, if you can tell us a little bit about how you're leveraging digital adoption strategies to ensure consistent technology usage across your diverse stakeholder group that you just mentioned, both from an agent and adjusters to customers kind of standpoint?
Yeah, so we haven't focused very heavily on customers, although we do have a very strong focus on those that support the customers. So our agent force and our internal employees, particularly in like the claims organization and the underwriting organization, do have a direct impact on the customers. So most of our main focus at this time is really helping those users effectively use the tools that we have, and save time in making decisions about the work. And so it really leads to driving employees to become more proficient in the tasks that they do in service of our customers, rather than adopting new technology as we go. As you can imagine, insurance is a complex business. And as we onboard new employees that have to navigate through that complex business, they need a lot of support in sort of standard processes. And that's what we use digital adoption for the most. I would say, our pure sort of adoption play really is focused on that agent audience. The agents own their own businesses. As I said, they're independent contractors. We've got about 19,000 plus. And they hire employees every day to help them run their business. And, they're faced with using a lot of different tools in direct service of the customer. So we do use a lot of WalkMe, including a workstation, to help drive adoption and set those agents and their staff up for success. And that's really where the biggest of the adoption lies for us. And so I would say, we really have seen digital adoption make a huge difference in the work that we do at State Farm. By our calculation, in 2024, we saved our workforce about 2.4 million hours. And those are hours that can go back to helping the customer.
Awesome. So for those of you on the webinar now who are not familiar with what Workstation is, reach out to Michael after the session. And, no, I'm kidding. So really, Workstation, the product that you mentioned, I think is a very unique offering. I think we were, ahead of our time when we released it. We see many tools today trying to leverage AI to do a lot of what Workstation can do. So it's great to see that you're using it. And seriously, if folks on the call have some questions about this, drop them in the Q&A, in the chat now, and we'll address them during Q&A. Thank you, Michael. So Alexa, next question to you. So your company manages both power generation equipment and business software systems, and as the report highlights, a unified digital experience is critical for driving efficiency and ensuring employees can seamlessly navigate complex workflows. So if you can tell us a little bit how does your digital adoption strategy help employees work effectively across these different types of technology?
Sure. So, first off, let me say that the most critical part in having a successful digital adoption approach is having solid relationships with not only the product or application experts, but with those end users, the people, the employee who has to work with all of these things. And we can never get so caught up in tech that we need reminding of the human that's leveraging that tech. And identifying the stakeholders who truly have cross-functional experience is what I want to encourage everyone to really dig in with. And that's what we do. You easily have experts in one application or one tool, but digging further and finding the small group of users who actually have experience using all of your tools and have had to gain a larger perspective and truly see that process flow from one app to the next, to the next, to the next. This is what we try to do, and have found that by working with people who aren't so specialized on just one app and one process, we can truly find cross-application flows that support everyone. And then you can take it back to those specialized people and fine-tune individual app nuances or processes. And a great example of this is our 2024 onboarding toolkit. And special shout out to my incredible teammate, Artem Silka, for winning Demo Jam and pushing the bounds of our onboarding experience.
Awesome shout out there, Alexa. So I like the relationship aspect. I like kind of zooming out and looking at workflows. That's probably a solid advice there. And I see that Andrea is with us. Welcome aboard. I hope it wasn't too difficult. Thanks for joining us. So I'll jump back to the question that I had for you, Andrea. I recently saw that Accenture hit $1.2 billion in AI booking last quarter. So you guys are seeing firsthand how quickly enterprises are adopting AI. But in the report, we saw that 78% of executives believe that they can manage this pace of change, right? It's rapidly evolving, but the reality is, to the previous point that we talked about, the perception gap and executives versus employees, only 28% of employees feel adequately trained on these new tools, right? So if you can recommend organizations how to bridge this gap, what would that be?
That's a great question. Thanks, Ophir, for the introduction. So I think that what you've outlined here really underscores the challenge that enterprises face in an era of continuous change. AI adoption is happening faster than ever, and employees are not necessarily equipped to keep up. And if they're not, organizations won't see the full value of their investments. At Accenture, we believe that the successful adoption of AI isn't just about rolling out new tools, but it's about building an adaptable and resilient workforce that can continuously evolve alongside technology. To bridge this gap, we think about three key strategies. First is embedding AI into the flow of work. So instead of introducing standalone systems that require constant retraining, we're thinking about integrating AI into existing workflows. So for example, WalkMe combined with SAP's Joule AI Copilot can enable contextual guidance and allow employees to engage with AI naturally rather than feeling overwhelmed. We also want to shift into continuous learning. AI isn't static and training can't be either. The traditional model of learning doesn't really work anymore these days, especially when AI evolves daily or even hourly. Organizations need to adopt micro-learning, real-time guidance, and AI-driven adaptive learning to ensure that employees develop AI fluency as they work, not just in one-off sessions. And finally, as I said before, building AI resilience and visibility. We know that many enterprises underestimate the number of AI tools in their stack by over 1,600%, leading to a fragmented adoption and low productivity gains. So centralized visibility tools like WalkMe can help organizations track AI usage, identify skills gap, and refine their adoption strategies to keep pace with continuous change. So we're no longer focused on one-time transformation. We're in the era of continuous reinvention. So enterprises that will thrive are ones that treat AI adoption as an evolving capability rather than a one-time rollout. So organizations that embed AI into workflows, enable continuous learning, and embrace change agility will not only bridge the readiness gap, but they'll lead the way into the AI-powered future.
Love it. So just to kind of recap, you spoke about AI in the flow of work. I think generally speaking, we could talk about like productivity in the flow of work. It's not just AI, it's making, it's making the work accessible, making tasks easier and not a work on top of an employee's work. You spoke about continuous learning. I couldn't agree more than that. Micro-learning, especially, and especially in things that AI can't replace human beings, right? So, what are the skills? What are the things that we will always need as human beings? And then lastly, you spoke about something that it looks like it's a common thread across different answers, and that's the visibility, right, aspect, because you can't really manage what you can't see. So I think that those are solid, three solid points there. And lastly, capability, not as a project, continuous capability. Thank you for that. And I want to jump back to Michael, actually. Now, I'm going to put you in the spotlight again, Michael. So we're actually seeing that 84% of enterprises in the finance and insurance sector have a team, also known as a center of excellence or a COE of 6 or more people that are responsible for driving software adoption, which is actually 11 points higher than the cross-industry average. And you guys won an award for this. So I'm curious to hear if you could tell us a little bit about the evolution of your center of excellence.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Actually, I'm very proud of the evolution of our center of excellence.
Yeah, Michael,
It was a
it looks like
disruptive technology.
Okay, we're having some technical difficulties with Michael's line, so let's give Michael a second until he regains his Wi-Fi signal, and I'm going to move on to a question to all our panelists until we have Michael back. But that's a good topic that I wanted to double-click on, Michael. So as soon as we have you back, we'll explore that again. So folks, looking at digital adoption best practices, and we're going to have a slide in a second that shows the one that we identified from the survey. Our report actually identified 7 key behaviors that drive success, and you can see them on the screen now. So I want to hear from the audience, right? So folks at home, sit up in the chair, stretch. We're going to shoot a poll at your direction. And let's take 15 to 20 seconds and use the poll feature in the webinar window that you're seeing now. Let us know which of these best practices you believe is most critical for successful AI adoption. Okay? Which of these is most critical for successful AI adoption? And while we're gathering your responses, I'd love to hear from our panelists, which practice would you say is the most important to invest in, strengthening in the future, maybe in, the next 12 months. Todd, you want to start?
Yeah, certainly. I would say that, none of these are irrelevant. They're all very, very important. I would tell you that one of the things that isn't on here that when Michael joins, he'll probably hit on a little bit as well. But for our success at State Farm, we've really started our digital adoption journey with a very simple principle, and that is, what is the problem that you're trying to solve? And how do you know it's a problem within your organization? But just as with any technology, AI, platform, anything like that, you have to understand what your problem is to what tool you want to use. And the better that you can define that problem is going to ensure that you have success. And to me, that then creates all these subcomponents of things on the screen here that roll up into defining that problem.
Got it. Alexa, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of these are critical for AI adoption. And based on where your organization is, its maturity journey, or how your team or company is set up, you may be able to select 1 or 2 of these. But you can ask the people who I'm privileged to work with and those that are close to me that I'm not really one for just settling on one thing. I want all of it. And what I see here is if you onboard a digital adoption platform, you can do all of these things listed. And that's a really incredible place to be.
Yeah, it's a good advice. So obviously, a digital adoption platform would allow you to accomplish a lot of these things, and it is one of the top priorities that we see in the survey. So Michael, I'm glad to see you back. I'll turn to Andrea real quick. Any thoughts on these best practices?
Yeah, so of course, adopting a digital adoption tool, I would say like WalkMe would be the first step, as Alexis also shared. And just like Todd also pointed out, I think that defining the value case of what you're trying to achieve is going to be the most important in combination. So we know that you get a better ROI, 85% ROI, when you have a structured digital adoption approach, as opposed to 22% for those without formal adoption strategies. So, making sure that we're able to identify adoption gaps, optimize user experience, and take proactive actions to improve AI-driven workflows is something that WalkMe can bring you. As it relates to defining the value case at Accenture, our COE, because we use it on ourselves, we love a good taste of our own medicine. We've seen an increase in applications reach our people 85% faster. We freed up 25,000 hours of productivity every month. So making sure to prove that you did it, I think, is 2 great steps. And then finally is creating a center of excellence. So making sure you have a structure and a governance in order to bring together cross-functional expertise, defining best practices, and making sure that AI learning happens continuously and in the flow of work are my big call-outs.
Great. And Michael, do we have you back? Is your Wi-Fi solid? Did you hear that question? So we're talking about the digital adoption best practices, and I asked the panelists for their opinion. Which one is the most crucial to invest in?
Yeah, I'll build on what Todd said and what the rest of the group said. The digital adoption platform allows you to do it all. We've had requests to do all of the things on this slide to help people use new technology, to automate, to have insights into what work people are doing. And in fact, that really drives us down to the what problem are you trying to solve that Todd mentioned, and then also helps us measure how we.
Yeah, and looks like Michael's Wi-Fi might be still giving him some
those
trouble.
Problems, and a further adoption of.
Okay, so if we can mute Michael for now and make sure that he has solid Wi-Fi, and then okay, thank you. And crew, do we have the poll results? We do have them. Okay, so it looks like investing in user training is one of the top votes, and followed by building content that boosts engagement. I think definitely kind of the user-centric approach to digital adoption is super important. It kind of jumps from some of the results here, unifying the experience across applications that Alexa, you and I covered, right? So interesting to see some of the results that differ from what you guys just mentioned, but nonetheless super important. And since Michael dropped off, we're going to move on to the next topic. And if he does join us anytime soon, we'll ask him again about the Center of Excellence. Okay, so I'm moving on to the next topic. One of the concepts that we see trending year on year, this is actually the second year that we've been covering this topic, is this notion of hyperproductivity, which is an aspirational mindset in which AI is used to create transformative gains in productivity and employee impact, essentially creating a new standard of work. So, Andrea, you kind of alluded to it, you touched it, you spoke about the achieving 85% return on investment once you apply, some of these digital adoption best practices. And what we've seen is that organizations that follow 3 or more, sometimes even 6, not only achieve higher return on investments, but they're actually on a trajectory towards this state of hyperproductivity, where essentially everyone can get everything done regardless of their background, skill set, digital dexterity, etc. And I'm curious to hear what lessons could other organizations learn from your experience as they drive towards this state of hyperproductivity.
Yeah, thanks. So similar to what you said, I think that AI adoption is no longer about gaining a competitive edge. It's more about organizational resilience. So in our fast-moving digital landscape, keeping up with AI innovation is going to be a challenge for people to adapt and further thrive. We have found that organizations that prioritize resilience by embedding AI into their culture, as well as upskilling their people and fostering adaptability, are the ones that achieve lasting success. And there's 3 key ways that we think about it. First is reframing AI as a tool for agility and adoption. So AI should help employees navigate uncertainty and automate repetitive tasks, make data-driven decisions. We don't think that they should disrupt workflows. So this leaves time for higher level strategic thinking and stakeholder alignment activities in the context of a transformation program. When employees see AI as a tool that supports them rather than something they must adapt to, adoption becomes natural and really exciting. Next is embedding continuous learning into the flow of work. You heard me say this before, I'll say it again. AI isn't static and training can't be either. So making sure that organizations integrate micro-learning and AI-powered coaching and real-time support into their employee workflows. Gone are the days of going to a classroom for 20 hours and learning and going back to your desk and attempting to apply it. When we use something like WalkMe with Joule to provide contextual and in-the-moment guidance, we can ensure that AI adoption happens naturally. And then finally, creating a culture of experimentation and psychological safety. So the biggest barrier to AI adoption isn't technology, it's the fear of failure. When employees worry about making mistakes or being replaced, that's when we face the biggest challenges. So if we can normalize experimentation, they can test AI, fail fast, and learn without consequences, we've seen the greatest success. We've also had clients use AI champion networks, which empower internal advocates to drive peer-to-peer adoption and engagement. So the most successful organizations don't just adopt AI, they build resilience into their culture, workforce, and leadership so that AI becomes a seamless enabler of continuous transformation and productivity.
Yeah, that's great. And I think when we talk about that hyper productive mindset. It's really standardizing these things, and it becomes a second nature, and it just becomes part of the flow of work. So that's great. And Alexa, I'll turn to you. There's been a massive surge in AI spending. The report shows, as you can see on screen, that companies are planning to spend $23 million this year. And it's actually more than double their investment in previous years. With such significant investment in new technology, what steps are you guys taking to ensure your teams can effectively use these AI tools?
Wow, so this is a huge question. It's a great question. Something that we probably all witness at our organizations and are trying to do and be better at. Visibility to the AI tools, which I know is one of the core challenges that was identified in the report, and also utilization. But let's talk about that part first. So encouraging, enabling, and in some cases, perhaps even enforcing AI or certain tool usage. This isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. However, there's probably a good case for each of those, dependent on what AI tool or product is used and what the output and expectation is on the employee. But before we can even get there, building employee confidence in the AI tools is the name of the game. A strategy that I use as a parent, a mentor, as a leader, is really competence builds confidence. And we're taking the steps to ensure competence through training in the flow of work, the things that Andrea was speaking about. These are all things that we do, but also open sessions like lunch and learns or office hours and drip learning, and really showing how the tool can help that employee. So ensuring competence first with the AI tool, and that's going to really build confidence in our employees. And then we will start seeing increases in employee efficiency and those employees conducting higher quality work.
Awesome. I love that. So steal that from Alexa. Competence builds confidence. Did you trademark that, Alexa? If not,
Not yet.
not yet.
It's
Now's
not.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So competence builds confidence in AI adoption, because basically when employees are properly trained and equipped to use the tools effectively, they feel more in control. They make better decisions. They integrate it into their workflows with trust. And that basically closes that gap that we talked about between the executive ambition and the real world implementation. So I love that advice. Thank you for sharing that. Todd, I'll move to you. So when we look at GenAI, there's an interesting dynamic at play, right? It offers a lot of opportunities to enhance processes, and we spoke about some of them now. But we still need that human element in things like, customer interactions, for example. And I'm curious about your perspective. How are you using AI to augment rather than replace the human experience? And as you roll out these new AI tools, how are you preparing your workforce to effectively use them in the day-to-day?
Yeah, great question. I think that dovetails right off of some comments that Andrea and Alexa's both made. And first and foremost, we know that AI is coming. AI is advancing rapidly. We see those trends. It has tremendous capabilities, tremendous benefits to the organization, but we don't want our employees to be afraid to use it. And we don't want them to live in fear that if I use AI, that's somehow going to put me out of a job. And so when you step back from that, for those that don't know State Farm's a 100-plus-year-old company. We've been the number one market leader for the past 80 years in property and casualty in North America. And so everything that we do is based upon relationships. So, right, if you are in a car accident or, a house or, moments that matter in your life and you need State Farm, it's all about State Farm being there. And we believe, right, marrying the power of technology, the capabilities to make quicker decisions, more effective decisions, streamline operations, enhance customer service, all those things while keeping that core customer at the focus. That's what we're about. And so we want to make sure that our employees understand, it's about helping you do better in your job. And so to Andrea's point, embedding AI in the workflow when employees need it, rather than, hey, I got to go seek it, we believe that's going to help with adoption. And ultimately, it's going to help us retain our market share and improve customer service and all the things that go with that. So to us at the forefront, we're really trying to drive home the message that, our focus is, to your point, Ophir, about augmenting the use of AI combined with the strong relationships and the strong customer service that State Farm provides. And we believe if we can do that correctly, that's a winning formula.
So I love that perspective, and I think the communication and relationship building kind of came up in other conversations, but you're talking about something that AI is not going to replace in anytime soon, unless you're watching sci-fi movies with her and something like that. AI is not going to immediately replace relationship building, but it can help build relationships, right? By personalizing interactions, anticipating needs, enabling more meaningful engagement. And I think that's, exactly how companies need to think about this. How can it empower our people to do their job better, more effectively, in a unique way? So that's a great point.
I mean, to double on that, like think about some of the decisions that happen within the insurance sector, right? It's super complex, whether that's an auto accident, heaven forbid, a house fire, even life insurance. Yes, AI can help in a number of those workflows, but you don't want to just be dependent upon the AI. You still need human engagement and human intervention on some of those complex situations. Because, right, as a customer, you wouldn't want the company just leverage AI to make this complex decision on injury, subrogation of liability, right? That's going to require human skills. But again, if you can leverage AI to aid that employee to make a better, more informed decision, again, that there's tremendous value there.
100%. Michael, you're back. You're with us. How's the Wi-Fi doing? I want to give you an opportunity to finish that thought about the Center of Excellence, because I think it's super important for our audience to hear. So let's try to run through that again. Hopefully, if you can give us a quick rundown of the investments that you've been making in your Center of Excellence and how that has evolved.
Yeah, I'll start with the kind of GWiz numbers. So our team in the Center of Excellence, we actually have 13. So we're quite a bit larger than sort of the average team. And we've added those folks over the last 5 years. So we grew from a team of 3 up to the 13. And that's because the demand keeps growing kind of exponentially for WalkMe. We started out slow with just 1 or 2 applications, and then, we expanded. Now we're on 40 plus web-based applications plus WalkMe Workstation, and we're deep on all those applications. We have hundreds of elements on some of them, providing guidance throughout the workflow in all of the complex workflows that we have. We've also skilled up to the point where the folks that we've hired for the team are some of the best I've ever seen in terms of understanding how websites work, how digital adoption works. They're WalkMe gurus, and are
and we lost Michael again. But we're gonna, if anyone has a question on State Farm Center of Excellence, post it in the comments here, and we'll try to address them later on. I want to move to our final question, and that's to all of our panelists today. We spoke about many aspects of the report, and we shared some insights. And one thing is crystal clear. AI is fundamentally changing how we work across every industry. And based on your experiences, what advice would you share with organizations to help them prepare for this transformation? And looking ahead, what key developments in digital adoption specifically would you most like to see to help organizations succeed in this journey? And, Andrea, maybe let's start with you.
Sure. So AI is fundamentally reshaping work across every industry, as we talked about. And while organizations recognize this potential, I think there's still many that are unprepared for the scale of this need. So when we think about the keys to AI success, it's not just about adopting new technology, but it's redefining how people, process, and culture evolve alongside with AI. So first, we'll start with talent, not just technology. So AI adoption isn't just a technology challenge, but it's a people challenge. So embedding continuous learning, skills development, and digital coaching into daily workflows so employees can confidently adopt AI tools rather than feel displaced by them. As I said before, right after our poll, I think that defining the AI value case for your workforce is incredibly important. So organizations need to clearly define how AI will augment our work, improve productivity, and create new opportunities. So every day we help companies craft AI workforce strategies that map out tasks that we can automate and where human expertise is essential and personalization is essential. In terms of future developments for AI adoption, we like to think of the AI-driven digital adoption platforms like WalkMe as real-time coaches. So the next evolution, I think, will be AI-powered, proactive, and personalized. We can expect dApps like WalkMe to evolve into intelligent co-pilots that can anticipate challenges, adapt to different learning styles, and automate assistance in real time. Adaptive learning and personalized AI training. So tailoring these digital experiences based on user behavior, role, and proficiency level will help ensure employees get the right support at the right time in the flow of work. And then finally, shifting culture to experimentation and change agility. So adoption isn't just about implementation, it's about mindset and psychological safety. So the future success of organizations will depend on fostering a culture of experimentation, continuous learning, and AI agility. So the more that leaders are able to help people feel safe to explore, test, and integrate AI into their work without fear of failure, those leaders will be the most successful. So I'll leave you with this final thought. AI is a talent strategy. It's as much about thinking about organizational change as it is about technology. And enterprises that succeed will be the ones that empower their people to integrate AI seamlessly and continuously evolve their digital adoption strategies. The future of AI is AI plus human, and the organizations that get this right will lead the next wave of innovation and growth.
100%. And I think what I took away was feeling safe to explore. That speaks volumes. And, you know, exploring AI means creating an environment where employees can experiment, learn, adapt without fear of failing, right? There's a safety net, which, by the way, having a digital adoption platform in place can help mitigate a lot of those risks, setting guardrails or, you know, helping folks navigate through complex processes. So I really like that advice. Alexa, any thoughts on that advice?
Yeah, sure. So first, let me say, Ophir, you and the Backstage team have been incredible facilitating this event and making it happen for everyone. And if anybody needed proof that these things are live, I hope you've got it right now. So big kudos to the production team. And now I'll answer the question. But so AI, GenAI, self-aware AI, and all of the innovations that are to come will no doubt keep us all on our toes. The key here, and a small nugget that I want to just bring back up, but is that competence builds confidence. And as you're developing your strategy to innovate with AI or introduce Gen AI modeling, or you're just starting out with a digital adoption platform, remember that your team members, your customers, and your employees must first be competent in that tool before they can confidently leverage it. And this all sets you up to have a digitally dexterous organization and ultimately land in that hyper productivity phase, which is what I'm aiming for. And I think we really probably all are striving for.
Awesome. So I told you before, I'm telling you again, you need to trademark that. Competence builds confidence, ladies and gentlemen. Todd, any thoughts on that? Any advice?
Yeah, I don't know if I have any trademark comments there that I can share, but and Andrea and Alexa have just done a great job setting the stage here. To me, when I think about this space, again, for those of you that have had success with your DAP program already, I just see a very similar trend with how we maximize AI within the workflow. And, you know, again, what are you trying to do with it? What's the problem that you're trying to solve? Have a hunger and a thirst for the end user experience. Let the end user understand what the benefit of using those AI capabilities are for them, which then leads into that experimentation. It leads a better understanding of the workflows, identifies areas where there's friction within those experiences. And then again, the more that you can embed that AI experience within the workflow, similar to what you're doing with DAP already, So again, if you're having success with DAP today, delivering in the moment content, like put that on steroids with AI and deliver AI in the moment when employees need it. I just think that sets you up for success going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, from our standpoint, at least, if you look at the product roadmap, and you and I recently met at our sales kickoff and the analyst day, and you saw some of the investments that we're making, that's definitely where our product team is heading. Okay, cool. So unfortunately, we lost Michael, but nonetheless, we have tons of questions from the audience in the chat. So I want to run through some of them, and I'll just share them. And if anyone, of our panelists feels like they can address this, just let me know, and we'll put the spotlight on you. So Cora Butler wants to know what formal training are people using to develop skills necessary to build effective adoption? For example, Harvard, MIT, Sloan, etc. Any thoughts on that? Are you seeing any formal kind of programs to build effective adoption?
Ophir, is that question related to WalkMe or AI?
That is a question, I believe, geared towards you guys. Like if you're seeing anything in your organizations that is helping to build effective adoption.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about AI skills. So there are several leadership capability areas offered. There's one from Stanford and one offered from MIT. And there's slight differences around whether they're more targeted towards leaders learning about AI and empowering their people versus more for individual contributors. But both are very successful programs. They're both mixed learning modality, and they can be very helpful in getting people up the AI curve, if you will, and getting educated beyond just going in and trying ChatGPT once or twice for the first time. So we've seen some great success with that, and you can reach out directly to me if you want more information.
Awesome. Thanks for jumping on that one, Andrea. So I have a question from Sijal. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. And they're asking, what is SAP's digital adoption roadmap and SAP's vision for integrated digital adoption tools moving forward? So just to give a little bit of context for those on the call who are not aware of it, WalkMe was recently acquired by SAP. And SAP had a product called Enable Now that had similar capabilities to WalkMe. So there's not a lot that I can say about this. I'll just say that these are still early days, and I encourage you to follow the official communication channels both on WalkMe and SAP to get more information on this. There are some official announcements like the press release and the community announcements that I believe the team can drop some links in the chat here so you can review them. But other than what was officially publicly available, unfortunately, I can't disclose too much information, but stay tuned. We're working hard. I'll just say that. Next question from Ken. How do you all quickly make certain your AI doesn't provide hallucinations and so that the end associate is confident in the answers provided by AI? So how do you deal with hallucinations, Alexa?
I can take this one. Yeah, I love how it's termed hallucination. So one thing that's important, and I hope that I touched on it a little bit throughout, my responses. But the people, still need to be involved, right? And so perhaps AI, GenAI, something spits a response out for your users, for your learners, for your employees, or your analyst, whoever is working with the tool. I'll give you another quick tagline: trust but verify, right? So look at it, and then let's go verify that information. Because if we learn anything here, AI is not always right. Okay, the tools are not always right, and it's so important for the human to come back in and review and really make sure that that's the response or the answer that we need.
Yeah, I want to quickly double click on that, Alexa, and shameless plug, right? So if you're using something like a digital adoption platform, you can use it in two ways, right? One is to set those guardrails that we talked about, right? Just a quick reminder to tell the team, hey, don't trust this, don't blindly trust this. Go, to your point, go look, verify before you actually use it. And that could be in the flow of work. It could be a tooltip. It could be just a shout out that you could use. And it's simple to set up and very efficient. The second way, for those of you who are familiar with the generative AI capabilities that we introduced, the contextuality, what we called WalkMe X, right? So you can go ahead and actually embed that in the content generation as well. So if you're writing an email and you're relying on something like GenAI to produce the content for you, you could tap into the company or corporate knowledge base and and everything that can ensure that what you're writing is accurate and compliant, etc. So just a quick two thoughts on how a digital adoption platform can help with hallucinations. Next question is from Elizabeth. When you think about AI, how much consideration are you giving to the internal data sources feeding those models? As we've heard many times, garbage in, garbage out. What does that look like from you all to make sure that AI tools that you're using are as accurate as possible for these early users or learners? So yeah, I think the topic of the sensitivity of the data, and also how data is structured and how GenAI processes data, which is a bit different than classical SQLs or knowledge retrieval methods. So I don't know, do you guys, does any one of you maybe change the way we think about data given how we use AI today? Yeah, we can try to post that. Maybe the team can follow up on this later on. Take your time, think about this. But data is definitely one of the biggest, things that we need to think differently about. Because I heard an analogy. It's Gen AI is a great housekeeper. They don't care how you organize your stuff. They'll be able to manage it, but it's expensive, right? So if you think about the token economy and how Gen AI operates, it's expensive to just throw garbage data at it and expect it to sort or everything. So interesting to see how companies are going to take a more structured approach to organizing their data there. So last question. I think we have maybe time for a couple more questions. How have you adjusted your change management programs to rapidly integrate AI into applications? And I know we have some change management experts on the call here. And Andrea, I see you came off mute, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah. So we are using AI in practically every step of our change programs from an Accenture perspective. As it relates to digital adoption, we are leading with a WalkMe first approach, which is a truly differentiated way of thinking about learning in the flow of work. And we're using AI both in Copilot in terms of dashboards, setting metrics and KPIs, predictive analytics around readiness, as well as WalkMe for digital adoption. So we're seeing AI transform the way we deliver change, and I like to say that it's unlocking time and capability and capacity for people to do the challenging face-to-face conversations, the human side of change that we often used to spend behind computers kind of trying to mash everything together. And so AI is allowing us to deliver things to people at the time that they need it and spend more time having face-to-face conversation to build leadership capability and drive change programs all the way through.
So I think that's a perfect segue to the last question that we have here. We spoke a lot about in the flow of work or embedding it into the flow of work. There's a question here from the audience. How are you getting employees to adopt AI in their day-to-day work streams? If we can give some concrete examples, like, just get to the brass tacks, right? Are there any concrete examples that you can give on how to integrate it into the flow of work? Alexa, I know you have some ideas on how we can surface some AI capabilities or into the work stream.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really important, and if you don't mind, I'll step back to one of the hallucination ideas that came to my mind after we stopped speaking about it. I had joined a webinar, and my leader also shared this with me, and I think it's a prime example of garbage in and garbage out, and how are we monitoring this? How are we reviewing and vetting what AI gives us, and how can we consider that as we embed it in the flow of work? There was a prompt, and maybe the group is all fully aware of this, but it was pretty life-changing for me, I suppose, when I think about AI. There was a tomato, and then next to it is a fruit salad. Well, GenAI included the tomato in the fruit salad, but we as humans know tomato probably doesn't go in a fruit salad, right? But the tool doesn't. And so what I just caution everyone with is to review, again, trust but verify with the tools. However you do embed them in flow of work, which is something that we love to do and encourage people to do, whether that be honestly using ActionBot. Is a great tool with WalkMe to start people into AI, or including prompts. If you have internally led ChatGPT tools or systems, having prompts there that are supporting users on how to do things, how to use AI, how to frame their questions better to get responses that are legitimate or articulate for their project, for what they're working on. But really, again, just kind of heed the warning that, hey, we need to verify what's going on, and nobody wants tomatoes in their fruit salad.
So knowledge is knowing a tomato is fruit, but wisdom is knowing it doesn't belong into a fruit salad. Solid advice there. Okay,
yeah,
folks.
can I add one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
What Alexa is that I would say another really great way is building the muscle of using AI in your day-to-day. So things like 30-day challenges, practice that muscle. I personally have one. It's, use AI for 1 to 3 things every day. Whether it's personal or professional. And I think that gets you thinking in the mindset of how might I bring this into my daily productivity. So simple things like that can go a really long way across an organization.
Yeah. Basically, think AI first today, I think. Like, how can AI help me? And you'll come up with creative ideas and ways, as long as they're within policy and secure and responsible. So, folks, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. And before we close, I want to make sure that you all have access to the complete 2025 State of Digital Adoption Report. You can find the link in the chat now or scan the QR code that you see on screen. We'll also include it in your follow-up email along with the recording of today's session as we promised. And with that, I want to extend a special thank you to our amazing panelists for sharing their valuable insights, and all of you who tolerated all the technical glitches and difficulties. Thank you for joining us today. If you're new to WalkMe, we've linked some resources in the chat for you to explore further. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in future WalkMe events. Thanks, folks. Goodbye.